All right. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Welcome to this cycle of webinars to the launch of this CYPE 2022 version. My name is Afonso Solac. I'm civil engineer. I work for the software development department. And today we have here also the presence of Mr. David, architect from CYPE. Hello, David. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
During this presentation, we will be sharing our screen. We will be changing from one computer to another, showing a little bit about one of the examples that we would like to share with you. Okay. So first, I just would like to show you that this webinar is the first webinar of this cycle. So today is July 20. Okay, from July 20 to July 28th, we have different webinars in different languages, different times with different topics that we'll be presenting. All of them are related to the new version that we've just released some days ago. Okay, so the 2022 version was launched almost 8 days ago, so 1 week. So we are working with the 2022A version. Okay, during these seminars today, we'll start with the BIM Essentials by CYPE programs. So it's a group of applications, more specifically 7 essentials tools that for anyone who wants to work in BIM. Okay, with these 7 apps, you'll be working in BIM if you use this kind of applications. We are starting with this first presentation here at 9 Central European Standard Summer Time. Okay, it's 9 a.m. And then during the week, we will have this week and next week we will have more presentations. I invite you to take a look on this calendar, on this program, and join the other seminars that we will be presenting on the next days. Okay. Regarding the theme of this day, the BIM Essentials by CYPE, we'll present these applications for you in little presentations, about 5 to 10 minutes each. Okay, so we'll have 7 little presentations that will be presented sequentially, demonstrating one of the most workflows that we have with the CYPE ecosystem. And then for each application, we will explain the aim of this application and the main functionalities that we have for each app. Okay. First, I would like to show you what applications are these. So these 7 applications, where can we download these applications, and what are these applications? Okay. To do that, you use the BIMserver.center platform. Okay, you can look for that on Google. Okay, you can download these applications, and which applications we are talking about. Here we are at the BIMserver.center store, and we have different categories of applications here. So new features, manufacturer systems, and there's a place here that we called the application groups, and here we can find the BIM Essentials by CYPE. Okay, so 7 applications, as I said before, that can be used for any professional to develop a BIM model. Okay, so during this presentation, we'll be talking about this software here. The main software we could say that is CYPE Architecture. It's going to be the core of our model, and then we can generate different layers of information, add different layers of information to our project with the other applications. Okay, so for example, to start, we can start creating the terrain of our model with OpenBIMsite, then the architectural model with CYPE Architecture, then then generate the analytical model to thermal analysis to energy efficiency simulations. We can run our BIM model. Okay, so let's start with that. The first application we would like to show to you, it's OpenBIMsite. Okay, we'll not do a specific presentation about this application. We like just to show you the main functionalities and the aim of this application. So you can see on my screen at this moment that we are talking about the terrain, the buildings, the topography, the maps that are related to the environment, the landscape of our building. Okay, here in this application, that could be the first step of any project, and here we can define some parameters that are very important to the whole project. For example, the latitude, the longitude, and the altitude of our project. With this information, we are geolocalizing our project. And you can see here, with this system, we are defining the correct coordinates, the real coordinates of the building, okay? Here we can also introduce the information in other reference systems, for example, the UTM reference system, defining the parameters here, and also the address of our building, okay? Another thing that is very interesting in this application is the possibility to generate maps, plots, buildings, and topography surfaces. Okay, so with maps, we can download information from different type of databases. For example, generating this kind of satellite pictures or information related to the city or the streets, the other buildings that are in our near our building. Okay, so we can generate these maps here, we can personalize these maps here, and then we can integrate these maps, for example, in our project. It's something very, very interesting. And as we are connected, we know the latitude, longitude, and altitude of our project. We are precise when we define this section of the map, and we put this section of the map in our project. Just deactivating here this little map here, just to be easier to see. As you can see, it's a 3D program. We can download this information from different databases, but we can also create plots and buildings manually. So we can draw a building near to our building, because maybe in some situations we don't have that information from a database, or it's a specific monument or a specific structure or any other volume that we want to represent. So we can create these buildings, or we can download this information from a database. Another thing that is very interesting here are the topography surfaces. So we can create a new topography surface with a specific width and in two different directions, and with a cell size with a specific precision or a specific number, for example, 5 meters. And then we can integrate this topography in our BIM model. Okay, so for example, here we can integrate this topography here in the project. Okay, once we have the site or the environment, the landscape, the terrain of our building, the next step would be generate the BIM model, the model of the building. Okay, so we can do that just by clicking on this button here and going to the next application, that is CYPE Architecture. Okay, so CYPE Architecture is going to be, we have been in this one, Open BIM Sites, and now we go to CYPE Architecture. To do that, I invite my colleague, David, to share with us, because we are working in a BIMserver.center project, and working in a project with like that, we can share the same project. We can work both in the same project at the same time, and David can add the information related to the building to this terrain that I've just created before. Okay, so David, now we can see your screen. So from this moment, we change it from my screen to David's screen, and we can see a little building.
Okay, so once Afonso has geolocalized our building, what we can do is that we can start either with the location that he has provided us, or we could start our project directly into CYPE Architecture. Both things are exactly the same. And what we're going to do right now is, as you can see here, we have 3 main tabs: Sketch, Architecture, and Furniture. And when we start defining the geometry of our building with CYPE Architecture, we can start with the Sketch tab right here, and we can start with a reference system with grids, or we could start, for example, loading already defined drawings with AutoCAD and similar programs that can export DXF and DWG files, like so. As you can see here in this 3D view, CYPE Architecture can work both with 3-dimensional views and 2-dimensional views, like floors, elevations, and so on. And the most basic workflow inside this program would be the following. We would start first here in the sketch tab, and we would start defining our references like so. For example, we can start adding lines, and once we start adding lines, those lines can turn as well into surfaces, and those surfaces can then be turned into elements that we can edit later once we get to the architecture tab. Here, for example, I'm generating a surface, and then this surface, I'm going to use it when I go into the architecture tab to turn it, for example, in this 3D view into a slab. As you can see here, once we have switched to the architecture tab, we have many different sub-panels. Here we have the BIM model sub-panel. What we're trying to do all the time here in CYPE Architecture is trying to generate a geometry that can be then read by all the different programs that we use here in BIMserver.center, and turn each and every entity into a BIM model entity. As you can see here, I'm going to open the BIM model panel, and you will see that every single constructive element has been turned into an entity that has lots of different definitions assigned to it. So this will be later used on all the different programs that we will use into our BIMserver.center BIM flow. So, for example, let's see how we would be able to insert construction elements once we have seen how the BIM model window works. So you can see here in the construction elements subtab, we have vertical, horizontal elements, roofs, openings, connections, and so on. Let's say, for example, that we want to insert a vertical element like a column, a railing, a louver, a curtain wall, or a wall. And as you will see, the introduction interface called the vertical elements is quite similar. We start with the references that are then referenced in the BIM model tab. We can then assign it to a level that will be later useful once we switch to other applications like structural applications. And as you can see here in the entry mode, this is where the sketch tab comes into action. We can use everything that we have inserted into the sketch tab as a reference to start introducing our construction elements. So in this case, for example, I'm going to introduce the wall as a polyline, and I'm going to use as a reference everything that I have sketched here in the sketch tab, like so. Now, let's say that I have finished introducing my constructive elements. Then I could start complementing it with other things, like, for example, openings. As you can see here, we have doors, windows, skylights, and glazed surfaces. So, for example, let's start with a door right here. Doors work exactly the same as all the different construction elements. As you can see here, we can set all the properties, and all those properties will be later shared with the different programs once we export into an IFC file. All these different properties can be set individually for each and every material that we introduce here, and then we can load different topologies in case we have previously done the work in other projects, and we can import and export this data so we can reutilize it in the future. As you can see, we can set many different physical properties like the dimensions, the types of handles, the colors that we're going to use internally into the program, which kind of opening it's going to be, and so on. Now, let's continue with the introduction. And as you can see, we can work both with 3D views and 2D views. So in this case, I'm going to show you how a 3D view could work with the introduction. As you can see here, it automatically detects that we're working with a wall. And once we have our introduction point set, we set where is it going to be introduced inside the wall. And same thing applies, for example, with openings, windows, and so on. We can also do the same thing into one of the different views that we have defined here on the left side of our panel. As you can see here, we have many views that are related to different floors that we have here in the levels tab. And at the same time, we also have the layers. As you may imagine, like in many other drawing programs, we can group all the different elements into layers, so it would be easier for us to handle our 3D modeling. Like, for example, right here, we can set to transparent, or we can directly block or turn into invisible all the different elements that are inside that very same layer. So let's switch to one of the views so we can see how to the introduction works. Let's switch to first floor. As you can see here, let's try to insert another opening like we did before. And you will see that exactly the same process applies here. We set the distance, the height above the ground, the point of introduction, and if we go back to the 3D view, we will see that indeed it has been inserted just like we have told it to do so. Now, once we have our construction elements set, like connections, like stairs and ramps, elevators, and so on, we could then start defining all the different spaces, and these space entities will be later used when we start working with, for example, the electrical installation, the thermal insulation programs, and so on. And once we have finished with the architecture tab, then we can switch to the furniture tab. And here the furniture tab, it may seem as it is something more or less of a eye candy feature, but right now it's also meant as a way of introducing BIM data and trying to turn it into something that many more programs can understand as a native entity, like so. It works exactly the same as what we have seen before in the architecture tab. And if we switch, for example, to the view of the floors, you would see that it has already been populated with many different kinds of furniture. And if we want to add any kind of furniture like so, would be just as easy as what we have done before. We have to set the level, the dimensions are already preloaded, the colors are being used internally, and once we are content with the final result, we can get there and start introducing into our model, like so, both in 2D view and a 3D view if we want to. We switch to the 3D view, we will see now if we make a cut, for example, in the Z-axis, we will see that indeed we have added into our model this bedding right here. So once we have finished modeling our geometrical model here in CYPE Architecture, what we will do is that we will then export here into BIMserver.center, and we will have to switch to Open BIM Construction Systems. If you recall correct.
Sorry for interrupt. Could you? I don't know if we have this project synchronized. My project created with Open BIM site and your project with CYPE Architecture. Could you activate the terrain layer, the IFC layer related to the terrain in your project? Maybe with that we can show to our audience this connection between softwares. I don't know if you have the project updated to that.
Sure, let's try to see it.
For example, in the 3D views, something like that. I think it's going to be. Yes, here we can see. So this information that was activated was uploaded by Open BIM site to the BIMserver.center cloud, and now downloaded at CYPE Architecture, imported at CYPE Architecture. And as you can see, the same terrain that was generated before, now it's available in this second step of our workflow. And Mr. David can work with this real information of the terrain to locate the building on the right side. That's very interesting. We can study the impact of the building and the environment on the landscape. That's very interesting. Thanks, Mr. David.
Thank you, Alfonso. Now let's switch to Open BIM Construction Systems right here. And if you have paid attention, you will see that what we have set here in CYPE Architecture does not have any kind of construction definition, but instead it's basically a geometrical model of our building. Here in Open BIM Construction Systems, what we're going to do is that we're going to turn our geometrical model into an architectural model with all the different layers of materials that we're going to use. So what we will have to do first is to set our construction systems right here. As you can see, they are grouped by all its different positions inside the building, and they can be defined with all the layers that are composed with them. Now, let's say, for example, that we wanted to add another layer to this very same section that we have here. It would be as easy as adding a new element here. We can import or export other binding envelopes. And if we want to edit this one here, as you can see, we can start adding or removing different layers like so. We have preloaded some standard libraries from around the world, so you can have all its physical properties already defined with a click of a button, like for example right here. And now once we have our material ready, we can set all its physical properties like its thickness, the density, if we want to override the one that we have imported from the different material libraries from around the world, thermal resistance, specific heat, water vapor, and so on. And once we're happy with our final result, we can switch the different positions of the layers. As you can see, it goes from left to right, from exterior to interior. And once we have our material already defined with its reference, description, and construction characteristics, we can update the model and then assign it to the different materials that we have set here before in CYPE Architecture. As you can see here in CYPE Architecture, the different walls, for example, have a tag, and that tag is exported into OpenBIM construction systems, and then on we can assign that tag to different construction systems that we have already set here in the construction systems tab.
Right. So that's very interesting, because here we have two different applications. In the first one, we can create our geometric model, and then in the second one, we can add more information related to the construction systems of the building, adding the different layers. So with thermal and acoustic information. David, in this case, we can work with two different professionals in this project. So, for example, I could work from my computer doing the first step with CYPE Architecture, and you work at the same time with your computer in the second step. Okay, is that, you can confirm that?
Indeed. Now let's try to change some properties of this facade, for example, in this model. Let's make it 2 centimeters thick, for example. And now that we have it, we could go here and synchronize. As you can see here, we have a warning symbol. That means that we can export and update our model into BIMserver.center. And once we have our construction systems already defined, we can get a final report of all the construction systems that we are using, and then we can export it into PDF, or we can insert it into our final report for the building, for the descriptive and constructive reports of all the different materials that we're using, as well as the information that we're going to export is going to be treated for budgeting purposes and so on. Now, Afonso will continue with the project that I'm uploading right now in real time, and will show you how it works with the analytical model and the budgeting tools that we have available in BIMserver.center. Afonso?
All right, so in my screen again. So check you, David. Just reviewing what we saw until now. We created our terrain, open BIM site, then our geometrical, our main model of CYPE Architecture, including the walls. The main function of this, right? So the main information that was added with this software is related to the thermal and acoustic parameters, the thermal and acoustic information. Okay, why we should add this kind of information in our model? Because sometimes one of the uses that we can have with our BIM workflow is to run thermal analysis, thermal simulations, acoustic simulations, and to do that we must have two different things. departing from a BIM model, an architectural BIM model like this, we must add this information that David showed us, and then we must generate an analytical model to run those analyses, okay? And for that, we have a specific application that is called Open BIM Analytical Model. That's easier to understand, okay? With that, from this IFC that was generated by David, we can generate this analytical model. Just deactivating here the architectural model, you see under that the analytical model that was generated from that IFC file. Okay, and this analytical model is based on surfaces, on edges, on shadows, on spaces. Okay, actually we have here in this part of the software a kind of scheme where we can see all the project information with all the spaces, and inside of each space we have all the surfaces that were generated from that BIM model. Okay, the software also let us create a new analytical model without having a BIM model. So in some situations we don't have access to an IFC file or a BIM model. We have here a lot of options to create surfaces, to join surfaces, to cut, to delete, to apply symmetry and create our own analytical model. But I think that the most useful tool is just this button here, the analytical model button. If we import an IFC with the geometry of our building, just by clicking here, we can select the different spaces of our model, and then we can automatically generate an analytical model from that. That's the main point of the software. This is the something that is unique that CYPE have been working, and this is part of our expertise in this kind of simulations. So with this application, you can easily create your analytical model. With these two informations, so information related to the construction systems and with an analytical model, you can export again this information to the cloud, and then you can connect with your software to run your thermal simulation analysis, for example. All right. So just coming back here to our list of softwares. So we have our terrain, we have our BIM model, we have information related to the construction systems, we have our analytical model. Something more, other information that could be interesting for us, that could be part of the BIM workflow that someone is adopting. For example, this part here, view of quantities, generates the quantities of our project based on that IFC that was created before with CYPE Architecture, for example. Okay, to do that, we will use the application that is called Open BIM Quantities. Okay, so I have the application here, and as you can see, it's the same model again. Okay, I'm just using these buttons here, update and export, as David said before. With that information, I'm logged with my account here. I can send and receive information through the cloud. I can share this project with David or any other member of our team. And in this case, I received the IFC file, and I can read, the program can read this IFC file. Okay, so here inside of this project, we have one site, and inside of this site, we have a building, and inside of the building, we have different stories, for example. Okay, the level 3, level 4, level 5. Inside of each level, we have beams, we have columns, we have doors, we have railings, we have slabs, spaces. Each part of the model can be used to generate the quantities related to these entities, related to these parts of the model, and then we can associate, we can correlate this element with items of a cost database. Okay, with that we can combine these two informations, so part of the BIM model with items of a database, and then extract or generate our view of quantities. Okay, so for example, here we can change the visibility of our model here to see this information easily. So for example, putting in this kind of a gray style here, you can see that I'm selecting here the column, a specific column that is in orange here. So we have here the different columns in the level 5, for example. The software have a specific system where we can create our cost database, and actually we can have different cost databases from different type of projects, different countries, different regions, different moments in the time. So here we can create these cost databases. Just showing you here one of them. Here inside of the cost databases, you can create your chapters, you can create your items. Inside of each item, you can create the different elements that are related to that item. You can add a summary. You can of course add the price, a code, the unit. You can add description. You can also add graphical information that is related to this item, attached documents, specifications. So also the information that is related to the European code list to the generated waste. You can add here. And once you have this cost database that you can create using different applications that we have here, now we have to correlate these items of the cost database with parts or with elements of our BIM model. To do that, we use a set of measurement rules where you also can personalize these measurement rules, creating different chapters here, different folders, and each rule of measurement will select something from our BIM model. For example, here we are selecting all the doors that are all the entities of the project that have a condition that is equals to the value IFC door. Okay, for example, it's one filter that we can apply here, and adding an item from our cost database. Okay, so information from the BIM model is going to be in this place, and information from our cost database is going to be in this place. Once we have all these correlations created, all these rules of measurement created to our project, we can just accept that, and we can jump to the second tab, the tab that is called View of Quantities. Okay, so here at the View of Quantities, we will create our View of Quantities here. We can create specific work sections. We can add manually add information to the budget. But I think that the most interesting tool of this application is this button here, update the quantities. Okay, with just some clicks, we can select where which price database we want to use. For example, here this one, and we can accept. And in actually some seconds, we will automatically generate the view of quantities of our building. As you can see here, we have this total price of the building, and if we select one specific part of our view of quantities, for example, I don't know, this one here, the solid slabs, inside of this chapter here, we can select this part of we can select the part of our view of quantities, and we can see in the BIM model where this part is located. And if we open here, we can see the specific volume in this case of each part. Okay, so it's very, very easy to understand what is happening here. Okay, for each part of our BIM model, we can add a specific item of our cost database. Okay, here we have different tools to define the prices. We can change, of course, the currency. We can change the precision of our numbers. We can add different types of we can create different price adjustments to the labor performance, the material performance, also the price performance here, the price coefficients, sorry. So if you have, for example, a crisis or a specific moment, or we want to run a simulation adopting a specific price for our construction. So the software is very flexible, and there's a lot of options here to generate your view of quantities. Okay. After that, coming back here to our list of softwares, we have two applications to show yet. So we have our BIM model, a complete BIM model, including the terrain and information necessary to generate for example, our thermal analysis. And we have our view of quantities. I think the next step would be to generate the drawings or the deliverables of our project. To do that, we use one specific tool that is called Open BIM Layout. To do that, I will send a request to David. David could show his screen again, and David can show us how to generate these drawings from the BIM model. Please, Dave.
Okay, as you can see now here in my screen, I've already done some sheets here with the IFC model that Afonso has uploaded back to BIMserver.center. And as you can see, Open BIM Layout is meant as a way of turning that IFC file into something more readable, more easy on the eyes, and overall something that you can print. So you can start here with setting a viewport in an empty sheet like so. And once you have that viewport ready, you can set a different scene here in drawing elements, 3D scene library. We can set a scene that contains all the information that is relevant to each viewport that we're going to use. So in this case, for example, I have here my main model, and I've made some views that are relevant to our sheet. So for example, we can have a 3D view like so, or we can have a predefined 2D view like sections, elevations, floors, and so on. So let's try making a new sheet here. We can group them by groups of sheets, as you can see here. And I'm going to do a new one, for example. And I can set it with a different group of plans. I can also give it a different format, like so. I can preload some templates as well. I have some here. And once we have it, you will see that indeed we have here a new sheet. This template has been done previously. Here we have a library of templates that can be imported and exported from projects, and you can use them as MEMS as you want. And in this case, what I've done is that once I've started my new sheet, I preloaded one of the templates, and you will see here that this template has already some information already preloaded, and that is because here in the different texts we have a tool called substitute texts, and this allows us to set some reusable text all along our project that can be inherited from what we have set here in the template. If we go back here to the templates library, you will see that the text that we have seen before that said where is our project located, which is the sheet number, and so on, have been set with the symbols because they are substitute texts that are set automatically in regards to where we're started working with this database here. So once I have my empty sheet with my template, I can start filling it with elements like lines, text, and so on, just like we did before in CYPE Architecture. We also work with layers as well. And once we have our scene here in the library, we can insert a viewport with the scene that we have set and with the view that we have predefined. So in this case, I have this scene, and let's add a new view, the one that is related to floor 2, level 2. And as you can see here, we have already set a section of our view with all the elements loaded directly from the IFC file from architecture. And I can set manually the scale, for example, the mode, and so on. And now once I have finished setting my viewport, I can start populating the sheet with different elements, like for example, measurements or other drawings that I have made with other programs like AutoCAD. So let me show you first how it would look like once we have set it all correctly. Now that I have set my viewport with my view from my scene, I can now start adding, for example, user symbols from the library or different drawing elements like lines, text boxes. I can generate tables as well that can be generated automatically. And then once I've finished populating my drawing with drawing elements, Then I can switch to the Dimensions tab here on the right. And as you have seen before in the different plans that I have shown you here, we can add many different kinds of measurements, like lengths or areas. Here, for example, in the apartments plan, I have set some measurements. You can see some linear and some areas. And then I can drop all this information into a table like so. And once I have finished populating my drawings and setting all the different drawing elements and the like, I can export all this data into a final report, into different drawings that then can be exported and printed into a PDF file like so. As you can see, this is a very straightforward way of turning all the information that we have introduced into CYPE Architecture, OpenBIM side, and so on, into something more readable that can be shared in paper with many different people that work in administration, the construction side, and so on. Now, Afonso will continue with how all this information can be interacted with and how all the different collisions or the clashes can be resolved with all the programs available in BIMserver.center. Afonso?
All right, thank you, David. Just making a comment here. I really enjoy working with this software, OpenBIM Layout. It's very nice to work with this software. There is something very interesting that actually that wasn't our example today, but our attendees must know that we can combine different IFCs in a same sheet, in a same model with this software. Okay. When we synchronize OpenBIM Layout with BIMserver.center, we can download all the IFCs that we have in the folder, and then we can activate or deactivate different IFCs to generate our 3D scene, as David is showing us now. So we can, for example, we can create a specific combination between architecture and landscape, or structures and plumbing, or different parts of our project. Okay, we just have to select these IFCs when we connect OpenBIM Layout with BIMserver.center. Okay, inside of each model, we can have different filters to show different parts of our BIM model. For example, filtering by categories, as David is showing us. For example, just selecting the beams, or just the columns, or just the doors, and also a more, how can I say, a group of information. For example, just the spaces, just the bathroom fittings, just the furniture, just the construction elements. You can activate and deactivate to create your own scene, and then integrate this scene in your sheet. Okay, so that's how the software work. And I would like to say that there is great news here, because this software is for free. You don't have to pay for that. It's a software is totally free. And you can combine it with IFCs that come from CYPE software, and also any other IFC that is uploaded to the BIMserver.center platform. Okay, just we have to keep going with our presentation. Actually, this is just a small presentation of each software. We don't have too much time to show too much about each application. But let's conclude with one part that I think it's very important when we talk about BIM, because when we talk about BIM, we always talk about, of course, a 3D model with information that is behind this geometry. We sometimes talk about analytical models to thermal analysis. We talk about quantities, but we also talk about clash detection. Okay, so maybe this is one of the main features that the technology increased. The level of technology increased during the past years, and the clash detection is something that is available for us to increase the efficiency of our teams in these days. And we can run this kind of analysis with OpenBIM Model Checker. Okay, a specific to check the model. Okay, as the name says, to check the model, and we can run clash detection analysis, combining different IFCs to our project. Before doing that, I would like to show you something here with this project. when David was showing us Open BIM layout, I had the opportunity to update the information. Here, for example, in the Open BIM site tool, I can see here in the button of update a list of different IFCs. Okay, so this project have more IFCs than the CYPE Architecture IFC, the Open BIM construction system information. We have information related also to the water system, the structure, the sanitary systems, the lighting analysis. Here, the analytical model that was generated before, different IFCs. Depending on the project, we will have more or less IFCs in this list. In this case, we have these IFCs, and in any program, we can select which IFC we would like to import to that software. Okay. In this case, I'm working with Open BIM site. It was the first step of our project, but I have the option to import the CYPE Architecture model that was generated by David in this case in Open BIM site to check what is happening here. And if we edit the visibility of these IFC layers, or these layers of IFC, for example, habilitating the construction elements, the furniture, the bathroom fittings, I can also see that the model, the architectural model, was integrated here in the site that I created. Okay, so it's a reverse situation. I'm adding the architectural model in my site, and David added the site in his building. Okay, so we can work with that. Knowing that we have different IFCs in our project that at this moment are stored in the cloud, we can download some of these IFCs on Open BIM Model Checker, okay, to run this clash detection analysis. Okay, so let's do that. So here I have Open BIM Model Checker. Okay, Open BIM Model Checker have this interface. It's quite similar to the other interfaces of the other softwares, and we have again the same project that was updated, the information was downloaded here. In this case, I selected some IFCs, some models, the water system model, the structural model, the sanitary system model, the architectural model, and the landscape model. And with these IFCs that were downloaded, we can run different clash detection analysis. Okay, to do that, we can use this tab here, the clash detection tab, and we can combine different files here, different IFCs. For example, let's create one combination between, I don't know, the structural model that have beams, columns, floor slabs, foundations, openings, okay, and for example, the sanitary systems, that hatches and pipes, for example. We can also combine more than two files, okay, but I think it's going to be easier to understand what is happening here, combining just two of them. Something that is interesting that we can check or to include or not include part of this BIM model. For example, we could run one specific analysis just checking if a specific, if for example, the pipes of the sanitary systems collide with just the foundations of our building, for example, or with just the superstructure of our building. We can combine models and categories to generate a specific combination to run this analysis. Okay, so in this case, for example, let's create sanitary systems versus structures. Let's put a name here, for example, structure versus sanitary systems. Okay, I will accept that, and I have this list, this file combination here ready to carry out the analysis. By pressing this button here, detect clashes, the software will run this analysis. It's going to be something fast. And in this case, we found 165 different clashes. It means we have 165 situations where part of the model created with the structural model collide with the sanitary system model. Okay, and we can see this list of 165 clashes here. Okay, we have 165 incidences or clashes here, and now we can classify. We can see for each situation if that's something really important, or if it's something that it was a problem during the modeling phase, or it was something that is not actually a clash. Okay, so we can classify these clashes here. All right, for each clash we can see information related to the objects that are colliding. For example, here we can see that the BIM 15 that have this name, BIM 15 40 by 40, is clashing with the horizontal circular pipe section with this name. And we can see that is one element from the foundations category with another element from the pipes category, okay? We can also, for example, use this button here. Let me see, it's gonna be here, show only elements involved in the clash. If we click here, it's gonna be much easier to see where is the product. And now we can easily see that we have this BIM number 15 colliding with this horizontal circular pipe. So the idea here is to inform, to notify someone of our team, probably the engineer that is working with this sanitary systems, that we should move these pipes to another place, because we cannot have that situation during the construction phase. Okay, to do that, we select this clash, okay, and then we can convert this this clash in an issue. Okay, so I will use this button here to do that. So just generating an issue. Here I can have a list of issues where we, for example, we can add a comment to describe a little bit more the problem. We can select which professional will review the model. For example, we can inform, we can notify just the professional that is related to the BIM, or just the professional related to the pipe, or both. By selecting the element here, we are automatically selecting also the engineer or architect that is working with the discipline related to each element, okay? And then we can also take a picture of the problem. For example, here we can, and using this system, we can create a list of issues, and in the end, we can have a kind of checklist of issues that were solved or are to solve, and we can increase the quality of our project. Okay, as you can see here, the list of IFCs is the same. So here we can see the different IFCs: CYPE, CYPE Architecture, here CYPE Plumbing. Okay, and some of them were imported. We can import all the IFCs that we need and run different combinations with different files. Okay, and to detect the problems that we can have in our model. All right. I think that was the main objective of our presentation today, to share with you a little bit about these 7 applications that we think that are very important to any professional that is starting to work with BIM, or that is already working with BIM technology. So some of them are for free, as CYPE Architecture, Open BIM Analytical Model, Construction Systems, Open BIM Layout, also Open BIM Site, for example. And some of them have a specific model with a little price here that you can check here on the platform. And if you want to know more information about how to test or to buy these programs, you can contact the CYPE reseller in your country, in your region, to know more about these applications. David, a comment to conclude the presentation.
As you can see here, we are working all the time with all the power that BIMserver.center can provide us as a team. We have worked in this project in the last couple of days, sharing IFCs back and forth. And as you can see, the BIM Essentials are basically what you would use as a starting point for your projects, and from then on continue with all the different gamut of programs that we have for different installations, like sanitary systems, electricity, and so on. It's our stepping stone into the architectural world.
That's true. Yes, with this application, we can start our project, and we showed here some examples extracting, for example, the quantities or the deliverables with Open BIM Quantities and Open BIM Layouts just with the architecture. But you can also use these applications, of course, to generate the plans, the chapters of your view of quantities of other disciplines, as David said, the electrical installations or the structural model or the plumbing facilities. So you can combine these applications with different parts or different phases of your model. Okay. Thank you very much to everybody that came today to this first seminar. Let me show here if you have specific, you have some questions here. If you don't have questions, I think we can finish this presentation here. Actually, we have 1 minute yet. We are on time today. It was a pleasure to share this moment with you. I hope you have enjoyed, you have learned a little bit about our system. If you have any doubt, please contact us through your reseller or directly here to the platform, David, thank you very much for your presentations. I think it was very interesting to show the same project in different computers in real time. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Alfonso. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. See you in a next opportunity. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.